All right, so it's episode 2. We made it. We did the first one. It's out. Everything's out. This is out now too, obviously, because you're watching or listening to this. And we did it. I mean, we're rolling. Thank you guys for making this podcast. Let me tell you, I can check the stats here. It's over here on my computer. It is actually I got the most downloads, most listens ever for a podcast that debuted 2024, specifically named Underrated, hosted by someone named Justin. Now, that's actually a stat. These are real things, and you guys helped me accomplish that, and I appreciate that. That means a lot. Like, I just couldn't have done that without you, obviously. And the fact that you're here listening to the second one just means, I don't know what it means. I'm going to be honest. I'm having fun doing these, but I'm not sure what it means, but I appreciate it. Just know that. And if we're sticking around, we're going to go in and we're going to talk to somebody who actually was the very first person I spoke to. I've got a few backed up now, and we're talking to Regi Bastien today. And longtime friend. I've known him for a very long time. If you're listening to this or watching this, you probably know him, or maybe you just, again, maybe you're listening because you want to hear me talk to people, which, again, that's awesome. That's what this is all about. But I actually recorded this with Regi back in December of 2023. That's when I had the very first recording session for this podcast. And I didn't release him first because that was always the plan, was for David Jones to be the first episode. So if you didn't watch that or listen to that, go ahead and listen to that one. That's already out now. But Regi actually had a podcast during COVID, which a lot of people, I guess, had podcasts during COVID. But he had one that was churning along, and I jumped on his podcast, and I felt like I owed him one, right? I mean, I wanted to bring him back on. Obviously, I loved having a conversation with Regi, but I wanted to bring him back on to this podcast early. I wanted to return the favor, have a conversation, and we did that. But to set this one up, I just want you to know, Regi and I go way back. He was a groomsman in my wedding. We've known each other for a really long time. I've got nothing but respect for the guy, and I really, really loathe his fantasy football luck. But aside from that, great guy, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Regi. It's you. It's freaking Regi Bastien, which is, I guess, that's something that I guess I've never actually followed up on is, and this is the same thing for your brother, Nicky, who obviously I love, and we're very close. And we'll get into that, what it's like maybe growing up with someone like that. But your guys' last names is something I hardly ever hear anyone ever say.
Right. And
I just kind of just say it, and I just hope it's right. So Bastien, that's what I've always said.
Yeah, that's how I say it. Yeah, it's actually, so me and Nicky have different last names, actually. So Nicky might hate you for even mentioning Bastien with his name. But so there's no right way to say it, I guess. I say Bastien, some people say Bastien. And actually, my mom, this is what she told me, is that when my dad came to America, his last name was Bassia, like Bassia, but he didn't know how to spell or write in English. So he just wrote what ended up being Bastien. So really, there's no right or wrong way to even say it because it's like a made-up word. So okay,
2 questions. Well, first off, I want to clarify. I know Nicky's last name is different, and that's what I was going to say. He's also a last name. Yeah. His last name is, and I'm going to say, I say it's a Nicky Justy. What is that?
Exactly. I think when you're from like a different country, like you can just say it with an accent or just say it Americanized, and you can kind of do whatever. So his last name is Justy. I don't even know the Haitian way to even say it properly. I just say Justy.
He's the juice. He's juice.
Yeah, juice.
Yeah, obviously.
Who knows?
But going back to the original last name, how do you think your life might have been different if you were Regi Bastien?
Bastia? I don't know. It's a stupid last name. I would have hated it probably. I don't know.
It's a family name though.
But also it's easier to say and pronounce, and like people wouldn't mess it up if it's like Bassia. Like that looks like Bastia, you know? But Bastien's like a confusing, how do you use it? Sebastian, Bastion, it's like a whole thing. Bastien.
So for people who don't know and you're listening to this, why did we just talk about his last name for 5 minutes? Regi and I go way back. I don't know how back we go. I feel like I hardly ever remember when we all met. I just feel like it's an Inglewood thing. I don't remember meeting you either. It was just like we were around each other. I know, it's like what an amazing friendship we have that we don't remember the first time that we actually met. But I just feel like it's like it might just be like an Inglewood, Florida thing, or I mean, probably just a small town thing in general. Is that you just are around people long enough where you just start becoming, you're just always around them, right? They're just friends, and that's just how it kind of worked out.
If you're just around, you're just friends, you know?
That's it. What a beautiful story that we
I'm
had.
sure it was through Vince, 100%, but like when we actually met or what kind of gathering it was at, I have no idea.
But let's talk about Inglewood, Florida in general. Now that we've mentioned it, I feel like people who are listening to this might know you, probably know about Inglewood. How do you feel about Inglewood, Florida, right now?
Inglewood, I'm not the biggest fan of Inglewood. I wasn't when I was growing up there, and even now, I think it's even worse. Just like even if you drive through it, it just looks so dilapidated and sad and beat up. It's just a sad town. But even growing up there, you know, it's just all older people and not much to do as a kid. I feel like growing up there, to do anything fun, we went to Port Charlotte or Venice to do, like, go to the mall, go to the movies. Like, to do anything worthwhile, you had to leave Inglewood. Even now, it's still the same way. It's probably even worse. It wasn't that fun of a place to grow up, really, I would say.
100%. I think that's 99% of the reason why I think there's like why I asked you the question in the first place is because I feel like now I look back at Inglewood and I'm like, when I go there, it is weird to like drive through there and you have all these memories from like every single spot in that entire town because there was nothing to do. And you've probably driven and parked in every single parking lot
every
in
single
the town.
Parking lot. Taco Bell,
just
Walmart,
hung out.
those are the spots. Yeah.
But I feel like that's like, I don't know if that's an exclusive small town thing or like you said, it's just the fact that Inglewood, Florida had, and to this day still pretty much has nothing for young people. And I think that is by design. I mean, they don't want to encourage young people to hang out in Inglewood, Florida.
No. I mean, I guess the beach and a boat, like if you have a boat, that's probably the funnest thing you could do. Other than that, yeah, you have to find your fun somewhere else.
Yeah, I knew growing up that it would be a place that I say this. I'm not in Inglewood, Florida right now. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, so I'm like pretty far away from it. But when I go back, I do respect it for what it is. Like I do see at a certain point in my life to be like, man, I could come back here. Like
Could you?
There's a point in my life. I don't dislike it, but then okay. So here's the thing: is I say that. And then I realized my mom lives in Venice, Florida, which is just a little bit north of there. And this is for people who have no idea where this at. It's it's south of Tampa, Gulf Coast of Florida.
Yeah, people are like, what the heck?
Yeah, what
I tell people now, so I live in Sarasota now. I tell people I'm from Inglewood. They're like, where's Inglewood? I'm like, it's like
and
45
that's literally
minutes away.
Like 20 miles down the road. Yeah, that's ridiculous. But I do all my not fondest memories. All I would say all those feelings I have that I think I had when I was a kid that I would be like when I'm older and I want to grow back here. I realize it's for Venice. I feel like Venice Island might be one of my favorite places.
Oh, Venice is awesome.
It just feels like a whole different place.
Yeah, it's so much better than Inglewood. Like Inglewood, on its best day, maybe could be Venice eventually if people brought in some money and some things to do. I would much rather hang out in Venice and grow up in Venice for sure. I mean, it's still too old for me and like my liking, but it seems like probably a much more fun town.
So I asked you about Inglewood. I want to know, obviously, growing up, that's where we grew up. And I want to know for you, obviously, it was very easy for me as just a straight white man or not even man, just a kid in a town predominantly white. What's it like for you? Because I knew it. I knew you knew it. Obviously, you're one of a select few of people of color in a town like this. What was it like growing up like that in Inglewood?
It was super weird. But then at a certain point, it was kind of what you got used to, like me growing up there my whole life, basically. Yeah, I guess it would have been more weird if I grew up somewhere else and then moved to Inglewood. That would have been like a culture shock, you know?
Yeah.
But growing up there the whole life, that's all I really knew. But it was definitely weird. I mean, there's a lot of racism for sure growing up. Like more when we were younger as compared to like high school age. I think it got like better with time, I guess. But yeah, it was super weird. Like we were the only black family in Inglewood, it seemed like, for a long time. Until like middle school. Then there's like a couple other black people and everyone's like, oh wow, there's more black people here. Like what the heck?
And it was, everyone was talking, like why is that something people even talk about? That's what I always say. I never really understood.
Yeah, it was just weird. It was just weird. But I think it's because people didn't even know black people. You know, like if you're from Inglewood and didn't leave Inglewood, you probably never saw a black person in your life unless it was like my family or someone, or like, you know, like one of the other handful of black families there.
And
But then like it's weird because like if you go to Port Charlotte, like the next town over, there's like a bunch of black people there.
Right.
It makes no sense.
It was fascinating for sure. And the fact that there was a high school right in the middle of all that and obviously growing up, you lived right next to the middle school.
Yeah.
What was it like living a block away from the middle school at that time when you were going to school?
It was sick. And the elementary school is right behind the middle school. So like the first, I don't know, what is that? 8 years of school, I walked to school. So that was sick. That was awesome. Didn't have to take the bus or anything. And you could leave at the house like 5 minutes before class started and you make it to class. It was pretty cool.
You ever just skipping school, people could just like walk and knock on your door and be like, he's faking it. Like, right? Like,
I mean, I guess, I remember like a lot of kids would like leave school, like just like walk off campus and like just leave school a lot. I don't like that was like a thing back in the day. Like now there's like,
it's different nowadays
around the schools. But like before, like I'd be in school and like some kids like be like walking home at like noon. And nobody would stop them. I was like, what the heck's going on? But yeah,
you never did that? You never did that in middle school? You never walked it? Like your house is right there. You never had like the urge?
No, I was like a super nerd. I was really into school, got like straight A's most of my life. So I was definitely not skipping school. Plus my mom would literally probably murder me if I skipped school and she found out or something. My mom was crazy.
Okay, so we can. Why do you say that? Let's dive into that a little bit more because now I did want to talk about just you growing up in that house with all of your brothers there. What is that like? And B, how was your mom's dynamic? And I honestly feel bad for her having to raise you guys. Not that you guys are all crazy, but I mean like just imagine that many boys in different generations. It'd be wild.
Yeah, so it's just my mom. So my mom raised 3 boys as a single parent. She was super strict, very, very strict. Probably, I would assume the strictest parent that I even knew growing up. Like all my friends, like we couldn't have like sleepovers. We couldn't do like so many things growing up. It kind of sucked, but it was fun, growing up with brothers and having them around, and then especially having them be older than me. I got to learn from their mistakes and see them act all wild and shit, and be like, maybe I shouldn't get in trouble like them, and and just try to not be as crazy as them. But yeah, it was a crazy household, and I don't know, it was fun though, because as you know, like Nikki's hilarious, Jefferson's funny. Like it was a fun time growing up for sure. It was tough, but it was fun.
So you mentioned Nikki, and we're gonna keep going back on this, but what was it like growing up with Nikki? Nikki's one of the funnest dudes in the world. He's just off the wall.
Yeah,
Nikki. I guess he's
like
all over the place.
Probably the funniest person I know, like hands down. Like he's hilarious. I would say the reason why I'm so funny is because of Nikki, just being like around him and his personality. Yeah, he's funny. He's always been that way ever since. I guess I've known him my whole life, right? He's 2 years older than me, so yeah, he's always. But everyone's always said, "Oh, you should be an actor. You should do this. You should do that," because he's always like the class clown and just funny and just off the wall, like you said.
All right, let's move on from Inglewood here. All right, I want to take
Thank
this
God.
somewhere else because people are.
Yeah, no,
I could see you were having a lot of fun talking about the old stomping ground. Let's talk about the Injured Reserve podcast, and that's obviously I'm excited to bring you on this podcast because I was on yours, and you were doing that during COVID. I feel like everybody during COVID decided to just get on and make some content. We were putting out some crazy stuff too together.
We were with the chunk. Yeah, that was a great time.
The chunk was thriving in those moments. But the Injured Reserve podcast popped up, had a hell of a run.
It
disappeared. What's going on with that thing? Is it gone? Is it on ice? What are we doing here?
I guess it's on ice. I just got sick and tired of doing the Zoom podcast. No disrespect to this podcast. This podcast is amazing, and we're doing it on...
Not recorded on Zoom, but
not
I
on
what
Zoom.
You're saying.
But I just the whole point of the podcast was I wanted to like talk with my friends because I'm a physical therapist, and I'm always talking to my patients, and I'm like, I feel like I know my patients better than I even know my friends because I see my patients a couple times a week. I see them for 30 minutes or an hour, and we're just shooting the shit. And I'm like I like these people, but not as much as I like my friends. Like I should talk to my friends this much,
Yeah.
And then also doing the chunk pod, I love doing that. So that was fun. So I might as well just do my own podcast. So that's kind of how it started. I think I told you I did like 44 episodes or something. It was a fun time.
Yeah, we were just checking. You literally forgot I was on that. You're like, I didn't even think I had you. We had a moment where you were like, had to check.
I could have sworn that you were like, nah, I'll do it some other time or something. Then we just never did it.
I did, and then eventually I came back, and you're like,
did.
oh, hey, we got it. It's fine. Yeah,
Thank
the
you
first
for
time
that.
around, you caught me at a bad time. During 2020, we literally just had a kid. I got laid off at the beginning of that year. It was a fascinating year for me.
Pandemic? Yeah, but
Yeah,
anyways,
pandemic went nuts.
yeah, it's on ice because I just didn't want to do it on Zoom anymore. I was like, if I'm going to do any more podcasts, it's going to be in person, like kind of like an in-studio thing, actually chilling with my friends in person doing the podcast. Then I'll do it. But other than that, it's on ice until that.
So I will say having a face-to-face conversation is a million times better than even what we're doing right now. I feel like I've kind of become accustomed to this. This is what I do for a living, is talk to people remotely. And you do kind of lack that like human element where it doesn't feel as sincere or genuine that you're actually with somebody and sharing an experience. That being said, I'm having a wonderful time with you right now.
Thank you. I'm having a great time.
I'm definitely not being sarcastic. No, I'm not.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, I definitely like it, but yeah, it's not as fulfilling or as fun as it could be in person. I was like, if I'm gonna do it, and like, cause the editing and the setup and posting it, like that takes time. So if I'm gonna commit time to do all the hard shit, I want the fun shit to be as fun as possible. You know?
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. I think when you bring it back, I will gladly. I'll fly in. All right. So you get that studio set up. You just get 2 microphones and an interface, and you're golden, dude. That's it.
Yeah,
I'll show up.
Yeah. So the plan is when I get my next office for my physical therapy practice is hopefully have like a little back room where I can set up a little podcast, like a mini podcast studio. I don't need much. Just 2 mics and a laptop, 2 chairs.
Little audio interface. Yeah, you're good to go.
I just want it to be in person.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Maybe someday we'll do that and we'll get that going. And I maybe I'll have on this show a couple in-person episodes, but who knows? That would require me to leave my house, which I don't do as frequently as I used to. It's so crazy right now that my wife and I both work remote, right? Kristen and I both work remote, and we have a 3-year-old that's just kind of like there, like living while we're both working.
While you're working.
So we're like tag teaming the parenting thing while that happens. So by the time we like clock out at the end of the day, I don't even know what's left, man. We're like,
I got a question for you. I got a question.
Okay.
Do you think being at home now and being able to raise your daughter in person, do you think you could ever go back to a job where you'd have to leave your house? Or are you kind of like, this is so sweet that I need to stick with this kind of work from home situation?
It would kill me, I think. Like I can't even imagine. So just looking at jobs in general and trying to see what's out there, I don't know that I would search anything outside of remote. Luckily, I'm not going to say lucky. Obviously, there's not a lot of good things that came out of the pandemic, but it did.
Thank God for COVID, huh?
Hey, we did it, everybody. The shift to remote, not every business is doing it, but there's at least a focus on it, and now like a little more understanding of, hey, people can still get their work done at their house. They don't have to commute. Granted, I feel like there is a little pushback now with these bigger businesses that are like, we got to get back in there. I'm fortunate that I don't have to deal with that.
There you go.
I don't know what I would do. It really, honestly, would put me in a different situation because the amount of money we would be spending on like daycare for our kid, which we're saving a lot of money on that, but like we would need to be considerably more compensated to do that and have to make an impact.
And just even the time that you get to spend with your daughter too, like time like you're never going to get back. Like when she actually wants to hang out with you, like once she's 18, she'll be gone and like out of the house. Like this is the perfect time to be like hanging with your kids and like this is great, You're assuming that in 15 years from now, kids are going to be moving out of their parents' house? What are you talking about, bro? Probably not. I don't know.
What are you talking about? Listen, obviously I love my kid. I hope to love her for forever. I'm sure I will. I don't know why I said it like that.
I'm sure you will, yeah.
But I'm just saying, I just don't know that there'll ever be a point where I'm like, get the hell out of my house. Like, unless she like is murdering people, then we might have to have a conversation.
I'm sure she's gonna be like, I'm trying to get the F out of here. Like, I'm an adult.
Right.
Wow.
That's one thing. A teenage girl, I'm gonna be very
teenagers. Yeah.
It's gonna be a scary time. But we've both become very accustomed to remote life. I think if anybody was gonna go back and actually work in a building, it'd probably be my wife. But I'm here, man. For as long as I can do it, I'm doing remote, and I'm gonna see.
Shoot, if I could do it, that's the freaking dream, man. That's the best.
Yeah, if you could only do like physical therapy over a camera,
for like online, touch people virtually. You know what I mean?
What are we? Yeah, what Elon Musk? What are you doing, bro? Like, come on,
figure it out, dude.
We don't need a Cybertruck, dude. We want to touch people digitally. Get on that. I don't.
That sounds
what would you name something like that? I don't know.
Digital touching?
eye poke. I don't know.
There you go.
I would say eye touch.
Yeah.
but that's like, isn't that already a thing? I feel like iTouch is a thing.
Dude, I just got an iPhone 14 Plus. This thing is huge, dude.
Okay.
Like my thumb
I'm a sucker.
sore.
I'm a sucker for a good, huge phone. So I can't really speak on that. I want my phone to be gigantic. Yeah, that's awesome.
Like I can't even my finger, that's huge.
I guess we can talk about upgrades then, because I remember specifically you were driving a Yaris for about 900 years.
And I drove that thing for 10 years. I put 200,000 miles on that thing.
So what was it like for you? You want to talk about an upgrade? Going from that car to the next vehicle you had, I got to imagine you were a little heartbroken, but I mean, it's got to be.
So 2 years ago, I bought a Range Rover, like a 2016 Range Rover Evoque.
Yeah.
To go from like the bottom of the barrel Toyota Yaris 2010 to like an updated technology 2016 Range Rover was like driving a spaceship. It was sick. Yeah. It's fucking awesome. And it's expensive, but I'd rather pay for this car than have the Yaris, which was paid off, and drive the Range Rover and pay for it. It's so much better in every single way.
Safer. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And it's bigger. You can put things in it.
I got rid of the Yaris because I almost died in the Yaris.
Tell us about that.
No, I was driving home from Tampa, and the Yaris is such a piece of shit that I was having like battery issues for a while. So my car died at the hotel I was staying at. So the guys working at the hotel would like jumped the car, but the latch on the hood was also broken because it's a piece of shit car. So they jumped the car, but the latch was broken, and I knew it was broken, but it wouldn't like slam shut. It was kind of hanging there, which it was bad. So like I'm driving home with like this battery that's dead with the latch that's kind of barely hanging on, but I thought it would hold. So I'm driving home on the highway, going like 70 miles an hour, and the hood of the car flips up.
That's not supposed to happen.
The whole windshield. And like obviously I didn't know at the time what happened. I'm just driving, and all of a sudden like the windshield goes black, smashes everywhere. I'm driving on the highway going 70 miles an hour. So I'm like, I didn't even know what Ivan was doing. I like look out the side of the window like I'm Ace Ventura to see where I'm at, and I like pull off into the side of the highway. And like I look back, and like the windshield is just smashed completely. The rearview mirror like flew off. If that thing would hit me in the head, I probably would have died. I don't know. I was just lucky that there wasn't any cars around me, because I turned on the brakes and pulled off to the side immediately. And then I got out of the car, and I'm like, I'm never fucking driving this piece of shit car ever again. Like, I'm sick of driving this old ass car. So it's crazy. So I get towed. I tow the car back home, and then I'm like, all right, I'm buying a new car. Like as soon as I get home.
Nice. And did you enjoy the new car buying process? Because that's always, I feel like a lot of people. I've over time, because of my dad, I've sat in on him buying probably like easy 50 cars in my lifetime, and that might honestly be a low ball number. My dad would like buy a new car like a few times a year, and I'm like, I don't even know how you're doing this. Knowing now how that process looks, crippling debt. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way you're not making money off. You're not flipping cars in a few months.
I kind of enjoyed it because I was looking at cars before, just because I like looking at cars and like prices, and like I wonder what I'm gonna get whenever I get rid of this piece of junk. So I was always looking at cars. I was always kind of ready. So that, and plus I had the rental for a while, so I wasn't like pressured into getting a car super quick. But it was fun because I was like, I actually have money now to kind of get whatever I want. Like I had a higher budget, so that was kind of fun.
Car payments suck though.
Yeah,
I do hate car payments.
The payments are the worst. But it was kind of cool, like knowing I can get almost whatever car I wanted. So that was kind of good. And then I sold the Yaris to Glendy for $900.
That's a steal, though.
I was like, just take this car. I almost gave it to him for free. I was like, just take this car out of my hand. It's fucking cursed.
That's hilarious.
I hated that thing.
So is it gone today? There's no way he still has this thing.
He's still driving it 2 years later. I just saw him like last week. There's 230,000 miles in the car, and he's like, dude, it's so sweet not having car payments, dude. He's always like trying to make me like jealous that he has it now and I don't. I'm like, dude, I'm so happy I don't have that thing.
You're like, you're a good friend. I'll remember you when that card blows up.
Plus the thing's a steel trap. Like if you die in that thing, like you get in an accident, it's a wrap. It's over. Yeah. I was like, that's like 90% of the reason why I want to get rid of it anyways, because if you get in any sort of accident, the thing's like so small. It's like a smaller like Corolla. Like it's a piece of junk. Like if you
it's no Chevy Cobalt, bro. It's no Chevy Cobalt. That was a ride.
That was a car. That was a real car. That was my first car. I got that on my 18th birthday, my mom bought it for me. That was pretty sick.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a cool gift. She tried to surprise me, but like I knew she was getting me a car. And then like maybe the day before, I saw like the license plate and like all this stuff like in the kitchen. I was like, oh shoot, the car's here. And then like, but so I pretended like I didn't know. Like the morning, she's like, oh, come check it out. And then so yeah, I got the car on my 18th birthday, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, my first car was a 1994 Nissan Sentra.
Ooh.
I don't even know if I knew you when I had that one. I don't know if I had it.
Nissan Sentra? I don't think so.
So, yeah, it was my parents got it for me. I love them to death for it. It was in amazing shape. Like it was in 1994, bought in like 2008,
Ooh.
and it had like 48,000 miles. Like it was very low mileage. Like I think it just sat in some old lady's house, like in their garage forever. Thing was awesome. It had like the seatbelts when you open the door, they slide automatically.
Those things. Yeah, that's like not a thing anymore. What's up with that?
I don't know. I loved it. That was like I didn't have to worry about it. I just kind of just got in the car and it did all the work for me. But
when you're like 16, like any car will do. As long as you have like that freedom to go anywhere you want, you'll take anything. You know,
dude, it was amazing. Such an awesome feeling. I feel like that's something that is kind of missing these days. And I don't want to say like everybody's doing it, but a lot of like the younger generation. And I'm not gonna that just saying that makes me want to puke.
Them young kids.
These kids these days, they don't want to drive a vehicle.
It's true though. It
really is true. Like I feel like there's no incentive. They don't have any desire like to really. I don't want to lump everybody in there because I'm not that guy. I don't want to be that guy. But I will say a lot of the people in my life that I've seen, they don't want to drive. They just don't care to drive.
I don't get that though. What is that from? I feel like
I don't know.
Like, why wouldn't you want a car? Why wouldn't you want freedom? And then like, how else do you get around?
You just bum rides off people. I guess you just kind of that's it. Hey, can you take me here?
Your other friends need to have their license. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. If you can attach yourself to somebody, I mean, if you're in a city, obviously you could do the transit locally, but I don't know. The city transit.
I don't get that. I wanted a car. I mean, I didn't even get a car till I was 18, but I got my license, you know what I mean? Just so that I was ready.
You're ready to go. Yeah.
Ready to go if I got that opportunity, you know? But yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people, like their kids who are like 16, they don't care to get their license.
I promise my kid will be she'll be day one. She's a psycho, dude. She's got a little Power Wheels. She wants to drive our van. Like she literally gets behind the wheel and like straight faced will ask me, "Let's do this. I want to drive." And I'm like, "Are you insane? Your legs can't even reach the floor. Like not even close. Like they're like it's hilarious." I'm like, "What are you doing here?"
Let's do this. Yeah, I think parents are paying for kids' Ubers. Maybe like
that's got to be it.
That's got to be it. So it's the parents' fault. Stop paying for kids' Ubers.
I mean, they could also just be paying for their own Ubers. I kind of forgot Uber was a thing. I hardly ever use Uber. I think I've only ever done it like 3 times, and it was only like when we went on vacation or like went somewhere where we don't. Like
but could you let's think about this. If you're a kid, let's say you're 16, and you don't want to get your license, but you want to get around, so you have a 16-year-old job, you're making $10 an hour, you're wasting all your money that you're going to work to pay for your Ubers to go around town. That doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't, no. But you get that valuable life experience, and you get to meet a complete stranger and lock yourself in a vehicle with them. So, I mean, obviously, when you're 16, there's no greater feeling than that.
Yeah.
Actually, isn't there like an age limit? There's got to be an age limit on Uber. I would imagine you probably have to be over 18 to call an Uber. They don't have like Uber Kids, do they?
Well, I know like people like send their kids in Ubers sometimes. I've heard of that.
Interesting. Okay.
So maybe the parent needs the account.
I honestly can't even fathom doing that. I would never do that with my kid.
Oh yeah, no, never.
No way. Hey, let's Fat Tony over here in his Toyota Corolla. Yeah, take my daughter down the street. I wanted to take her to get her a Happy Meal. What? No, get out of here.
People do that though. People do that. They are not scared. Fat Tony.
Sorry, I don't know. He's legal. It's his like legal born name.
Shout out to Fat Tony. He's just driving kids around in his Uber.
I want to talk about SRQ Sports Rehab. All right. I want to talk about the business. All right. We're on here. We're on a podcast. You know, you got to do in here. You got to hawk the biz, bro.
Yeah. Everyone go to SRQSportsRehab.com. Check it out.
Okay. So I want to know, you're in Sarasota. I love Sarasota. I mean, I work there. We lived there for a long time. I think it's amazing.
I moved here because of you, and then as soon as I got here, you left.
Right. And we left. We immediately left. Yeah. And that's 100% because of your stench.
Whatever.
But that's, for sure. But my question is, what's it like, starting a business in general, but starting a business in Sarasota? How was that grind when you open up your business and you're trying to get notoriety in a town that, like we said, that I feel like that whole area, they don't like young people.
Yeah. Let's see. It was pretty cool. I mean, so the way I started like getting clients, which is like the hardest part of business. So I reached out to a bunch of people on Instagram that had a decent amount of followers and people who I thought would need physical therapy. So like athletes, bodybuilders, anyone who has like aches and pains or is semi-athletic. And if they had a lot of followers, I reached out to them and I said, hey, if you need, like, I would love to give you a free session, you know, for free, but just give me a shout out if you like the session. If you don't, then you don't have to. But if you do, just give me a shout out on your page and I'll give you a free session. And so I did that. I reached out to like a lot of people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people responded. Everyone was nice. And then, you know, I did that and it kind of blew up. So that was good. And that was a good way to kind of get the word out that, you know, my business is there. And if you need services, like I'm a person that you could come to.
That's awesome. No, it's really smart. The grind of a startup business obviously is crazy. What I've found myself in since I've worked in radio, since I've left there and started working again, I've been working with a lot of startups just because it's my skill sets are so wide that I just feel like I'm like I thrive in a startup. And by thrive in a startup, I mean get pummeled with a bunch of work and cover a bunch of bases. But I'm really good across the board to help that. So I do that. But it is a freaking grind just to get clients, just to get people interested, people trying to figure out what you're even doing over there. And I feel like I know every year you send out the SRQ magazine voting thing, and I throw you a vote, bro, because I know you put out the good stuff, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, but it kind of showed me that there's a lot of young people in Sarasota, surprisingly. Like I don't know where they're all hiding, probably at the gym and stuff like that. But there's a lot of young people in town. You know, it's just you don't really see them, but they're definitely here. A lot of people, you know, if they go to high school here, then they just stay in town, or like because being from Inglewood, it's kind of far-ish from Sarasota, so I really didn't know Sarasota that well, even though it's just like 45 minutes away. But there's definitely more of a younger population here than in Inglewood for sure.
So what would you say is next for SRQ Sports Rehab? Apparently they're getting a podcast studio. That's what I had heard from you. So,
about to be popping. Yeah, podcast studio. So hopefully in a couple years, the plan is to move to a bigger location. So right now I'm in this like a 300 square foot spot. So it's just one-on-one. So me and one other and whoever I'm working on. So the goal will be to get to a bigger spot where I can hire another therapist, have more amenities in the office, have a little podcast studio in the back. Yeah, and just keep growing, really. That's all there really is to it, yeah.
Yeah, I would say I follow you on all the socials, man. You're my guy. But you're the reason why last Christmas I got a massage gun for Christmas. Yeah, I have no idea. I saw you use one, and I was like, dang. I literally, in passing, had just said, it'd be cool to have one of those. I don't know why. I just want to play with one of those things.
There you go.
And I have one just sitting in my room, and now I'm like, every once in a while I remember it's there, and I'm like.
You got to. It's a game changer. If you got like a muscle knot or you're sore, just put that on that bad boy.
It's been pretty awesome. I have no idea what I'm doing with it. It's just I'm just kind of pressing it.
Here's what you do. The key is don't put it on like a bony spot. That just hurts.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna like rattle my bones up.
Yeah, just find a sore muscle and just stick it on there. It's better if you have someone else do it for you because it's hard to get like relaxed if you're like doing it yourself. If you could have your wife do it for you, it'd be perfect.
Or you. I mean, somebody could pay you to do it. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
If you want to pay somebody, you could definitely pay me.
I went on your website. You do a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know what's going on. There's a lot of tools you're using. I'm a little weirded out by, and I know it's your profession, so I don't want to disrespect it, but I do want to know.
I feel like I'm disrespected already. That's kind of rude.
That's fine. Then we're in a good spot. I want to know from you objectively, and this is not throwing anybody under the bus, but I want to know like what's the weirdest thing you do for people because you said 300 square feet. It's a small room.
It's a small room. Yeah.
It can be very weird to be doing some stuff in there. What's the weirdest thing for you?
The weirdest thing, I would say weird, but I guess you could say weird, is I do dry needling. So it's very similar to acupuncture. Okay. So if somebody is scared of needles, it could definitely weird them out or freak them out. Basically, so I stick a needle in people. Yeah, so usually in like a trigger point, like if you have a sore muscle in your back or your trap or your neck, we can stick a needle right in there, and that works help get that trigger point out.
I don't like the way any of that sounds. Tell me,
but you're gonna love how it feels.
Tell me why it does that. Why is it even doing that? Like, why does it fix an issue?
So basically what it does, in theory, is that it causes like a micro trauma. So let's say you're having this nagging injury for like a long time and it won't go away. You stick the needle right in the spot and it causes like a micro trauma in the spot. So the brain thinks there's a brand new injury right at the spot where you're working. So then the brain sends the blood flow and all the healing cells right to the spot to restart the healing process. So that's the theory behind dry needling.
Dang, I feel like I just got like max value right there.
You go.
Like I need to be charged.
Yeah,
for this.
and it's able to go in the body. So a lot of stuff I do, it's pretty superficial. So This is one that actually penetrates the body, gets into where you're actually working. So it's
big fan of being penetrated. I think in this context, I should say,
or in all contexts, really.
Yeah, or penetration, sure. Before we get out of here, there's two things I want to know, and we'll get to the second one here first. But right out the gate, this is something that's always been an interesting topic with you specifically. What's up with Drake, man? You love this guy. I've never seen a bigger fan of Drake in my entire life. I just need to know, how did that start and how did we get here?
I don't know. He makes good music. I don't know. I'm a big fan. Actually, I don't know how it started. He just came. What did he come out? 2009. He's been in the game.
Yeah, he was putting out
time.
Like the mixtape with like he did a little thing with Lil. I was gonna say Little John. Not Little John, Little Wayne. Little John.
Yeah, he just made good music. And then I think, so my sophomore year in college, I was living with John Kaplan, who you know very well.
Yeah.
So Drake was like just starting to come on the scene. And I think his album, So Far Gone, and then Thank Me Later were kind of coming out. So our roommate, Jakyle, he was playing Drake music like constantly, like all day, super loud, like you couldn't get away from music. And I wasn't the biggest Drake fan at that time. But I think I was just so brainwashed from listening to him play Drake all the time that I was like, you know what? He's kind of good.
Yeah, you're like, I'm kind of comforted by this noise.
I'm kind of in. And then his album Take Care came out. And then that album I honestly played like nonstop, like my junior year in college. I just played it on the iPod constantly. Just played it over. And it was just so good. It was just such a good album. And then I went to a Drake concert in Tallahassee. I think you were there.
No, I did not go to the Drake concert, but I had heard some crazy things.
That was with Vince. Joe Hadid was there. Maybe a Wojciech or two.
A couple of Wojciechs.
So we went to the Drake concert, and this is still like, 2011 Drake, so pretty early Drake. After listening to the Take Care album constantly, went to the concert. The concert was like sick, like the best concert I've ever been to in my life. And I think after like that whole amalgamation of all those things happening, I was like, all right, I'm in.
Damn.
Sure.
First off, thank you for dropping amalgamation. The world needed bigger words.
I got you.
I respect that. And I have nothing against Drake. I actually like Drake. I think he's really cool. I think him going to the NBA games is awesome. I think the whole shtick of him like wearing, everyone thinks he's like he just wears like a front runner. He just always wears what they're doing. You're wearing I think, what are you wearing right now? No one's going to hear that.
It's not a Drake. It's not a Drake specific.
It's not a Drake thing, but I mean, it's kind of a Drake thing.
Sweater. Yeah.
Toronto Raptors sweater. But just
but I was
happens.
a Drake fan in 2010. Like I'm not like a newer Drake fan, blah, blah, blah. Like I was there like an OG fan.
I will say that the original, like the stuff that he just kind of leaked out that didn't get like a release, like those little like mixtape tracks that he was putting out, those were on loop on mine. Like I love those things. They were awesome.
He was good, yeah. Yeah, he's definitely not as good as he used to be, for sure. But like his old stuff.
But he's different.
Like
he's
classic.
different.
Yeah, he's different. He changed.
It's okay to be different.
Changed. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
But like old Drake was top tier.
All right. Last thing. This is what I ask everybody when they come on the podcast. It's out the door. I want to know the last thing. Who's someone that you feel is underrated? All right. And it's not, don't just say like your spouse, don't do that. But like someone maybe even in your life, professionally,
underrated?
or just, however high up you want to go, somebody you think's underrated and you want to give a shout out.
I wish you had told me this before the podcast. I could think of somebody.
No, I'm not trying to. I want off the cuff. I want the real life stuff. I don't want you pre-planning.
Underrated.
And some people think underrated has like a negative connotation, right? I feel like that they're not fulfilling their potential, and I don't think that's the case here. All right, I want to know who's someone that you think deserves more. I think that's what underrated means. I think it's somebody that deserves more than what they got.
I'll give you somebody who's criminally underrated and always has been, is the GOAT quarterback of all time, Tony Romo of the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh no,
that man was so underrated. Honestly, he's one Super Bowl away from being a Hall of Famer. If he just would have had one, like, Joe Flacco type run in the playoffs, just one, like, he'd be in the Hall of Fame right now. His stats have him as one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He just had a lot of bad luck, a lot of bad teams. If he would have had the defense the Cowboys have now, we'd have, like, back-to-back championships. He was an amazing quarterback. He got hurt way too much, but he was definitely criminally underrated.
Somehow, I'm not surprised by this answer. I felt like this might actually happen. But I will ask, do you think Joe Flacco's a Hall of Famer now that we're here? We're in this conversation now?
No.
So you're just saying he needed to just bust up a
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying Romo's stats were so good, he was only one Super Bowl away.
Okay.
Like his brother Flacco. Flacco had a Super Bowl, but he sucked otherwise. Romo was good. He was just one good run away from being in Canton.
Yeah, one good
my guy.
field goal away, right? If he just made that field goal instead of picking it up and running with it. But yeah, you're right. I agree. I like Romo. I feel like whenever he came out and started doing broadcasting, there was like an insane amount of hype about him.
Yeah,
no one's talking about him anymore. That's kind of people. You're saying so. More people need to be talking about Tony Romo right now
as a quarterback,
the football player.
Player. Yeah, he was great. I think he had maybe the highest passer rating of all time, and he's got some. He has like.
We have our stat checkers checking that one out, I think. We'll get back to
He's like top 5 in like fourth quarter comebacks. Like everyone thinks he was like a choke artist and always threw picks, which he did a lot of, but he also had a lot of fourth quarter comebacks. He was a baller.
You got to have that. You got to have that like gunslinger, right? I mean, I don't want to bring up Brett Favre, but I mean, like when you think gunslinger,
son the pick.
Please don't say my boy. He's not my boy. But I had to bring him up as somebody who, they had a lot of turnovers, but they had a lot of wins and a lot of crazy moments.
Yeah. He was great.
All right, I'll accept that answer. I feel like that's appropriate from you, and I apologize for ambushing you.
No, that's all right. No, it's good. It's good.
Thank you for doing this, man. Obviously, this is I'm not going to say this is. You mentioned it when you talked about your podcast, where you were like, "I want to talk to my friends. I don't feel like I talk to them enough." This is kind of like what this is for me. I feel like we don't talk to our friends. Like I should be texting everybody more. I feel like everybody should be texting everybody more and want to communicate more. This has been really good for me to actually just sit down with you and have a little one-on-one and really figure out how to say your last name. So that's it. That's the only reason why I did this.
So we just learned there's no wrong way to say it. You can say whatever you want. You know?
All right. Well, Regi Bastien, it's been a pleasure, and obviously we'll be talking soon, man.
All right. Sounds good.